Mark Levin in well, he's in Virginia, but the station's flagship is WABC. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Why shouldn't conservatism be something acceptable? In a place like New York City, where Atlas is right across the street, Ayn Rand walked these streets writing Atlas Shrugged, probably perhaps the novel of choice of almost any free market economist and conservative. Where has it all changed? When I think of where we are as Republicans, as conservatives, as people who lean libertarian, I don't think we've ever lost the philosophical war. I don't think we've ever lost a war or debate or discussion on philosophy. What we've lost is the presentation. And I'm no longer invited on MSNBC. I don't know why. But when they had Tucker Carlson and they had Dan Abrams and they had a few other programs that, weren't so far off the deep end, they at least invited split screen debate. That's what I call it. The screen splits and all of a sudden, you got two people and one of them smiling, they got Vaseline on their teeth. While they're not talking, then they start talking, the other person does that thing. I tend to grimace because that's just what I do. But on these programs, it can be Real Time with Bill Maher, it can be anything on MSNBC, it can be some of the CNN programs. What happens is a conservative gets into a debate with a liberal or a Democrat, and then out comes the anecdotal story and the poster child. So, Andrew, healthcare has become so unaffordable. What are you going to say to Natoma Canfield from Medina, Ohio, when she can't afford her healthcare and she's going to lose her home? Now I've fallen into a trap. I've allowed a story of one person who, yes, I sympathize with, and I'm not trying to hurt this person. By the way, this person, the Cleveland Clinic has come out and said, no, we're not throwing her out of the house. No, we're not putting a lien on her property. No, she's not being turned down to the street. Yes, she qualifies. That whole story has turned out to be nonsense, just like the record earthquake in Hawaii that Obama spoke about on Fox News. It registered a record 0.0 on the Richter scale. Never seen in human history an earthquake that registered. I did a 3-hour radio show today. 0.0. But what happens is the conservative, the Republican, the free market supporter falls into a trap of having to come face to face with the emotional reaction of saying, well, no, I'm going to turn this person out of the street. That's not the issue. The issue is philosophically, okay, here we have this, and we have a free society, and there are charities that exist to take care of people. How does this renegotiate my health care, or your health care, or the rights of people to purchase their own health care? Why is it people fall into the trap all the time of allowing an anecdotal story or a poster child to throw them completely off track? And then comes the personal attacks. You're mean, you're evil, you're racist, you're sexist, you're greedy, you don't care, you're this. And it goes on and on and on, and it never ends. And people end up debating on this model. They're debating on an unwinnable model that you can't win. You cannot beat a liberal in the game of emotion. It doesn't work. But philosophically, you should never have to do it. You should never have to do it. When we look at healthcare spending, or stimulus, or all of these massive programs that we all knew were not going to turn out to be what they were promised to be. Unemployment is still 10%. Healthcare is still considered unaffordable. All of these things that were going to happen magically when Obama descended from the skies to save us all from ourselves, I might add, didn't happen. And now people are looking for something else. They are looking for people who can articulate a message that doesn't have a name, it doesn't have a face. It's a philosophy, it's an ideology. You can look somebody in the face and say, $1 of decision-making process, $1 of decision-making in government is one less dollar decision-making that you're making. For every dollar the government spends on healthcare, that's one less dollar that you can spend on yourself. You can't have a one-size-fits-all healthcare system for 300 million people. They say, well, look at Cuba. That's an island. You want to compare that to a state? That's a different story. What about France? Again, compare it to California. I wouldn't compare anything to California voluntarily, but it's like you look at the way the debate goes. Split screen. How does Andrew reconcile the fact that the World Health Organization ranked us 37th in healthcare? By pointing out survivability rates, by pointing out technology, research, pharmaceuticals. What part of that record do you want me to run away from? You want me to support a country that has an equal access to nothing? Everybody's got access. Yet, they have this quality of years adjustment. Well, your breast cancer just costs too much money, so we can't treat it. Robert Reich, Bill Clinton's former labor secretary, gave a speech to Berkeley. We run the loop over and over and over again. And he said if we were good citizens, we accepted the reality of politics in the United States, candidates would tell us that, well, as a young person, you're going to pay more because you're healthy and you don't need the system. But when you're older, we'll just have to treat you like you're too expensive and let you die. And he said this with a straight face. He said it with a straight face. So, in what way or form does he or any Democrat like Tom Daschle, Barack Obama, or Kathleen Sebelius plan to make the system more amenable to sick people, as Reich said? It doesn't. It's just another tax. It's just one less dollar you can spend, whoever you are, whatever you earn. Now, more philosophy. If person A, this person that we're told about, is entitled to health care, because now it's transcended from this societal obligation into a human right. Human right to health care. That blows me away. You have the human right to a doctor's labor? He owes you something? That's like saying I'm hungry, you owe me a steak. If person A is entitled to something, here we have person A, they're entitled to health care. Well, who pays for it? Person B. Well, if person B owes person A something, that means person B is in debt to person A. What did person B do to fall into the debt of person A? And is government acting unconstitutionally without due process, without crime committed, evidence submitted, any sort of prosecution, just saying person B is now guilty and must fund the health care of person A? And if person A and person B are different in the eyes of government, in that one has a right and the other has a responsibility, how are we equal in our society? We hear that, well, gay marriage laws treat people unequal. Really? What about this inequality? And it's not just healthcare. We see it across the board. There's constantly this amorphous group of people that we have an obligation to. And throughout time, we will always be obligated to them. We become the producers, they become the recipients, and our lives exist to simply fund the recipient. The recipient isn't expected to do anything, and I'm not trying to sound cruel or callous. Again, philosophy, not emotion, philosophy. If the recipient is expected to do nothing, and they call this our grand social bargain, how is that a bargain? If only one set of people in society have their side of the bargain to uphold, how is it a bargain? And now, normally the fear of granting power to government, when government exercises power, if it's going to pay for your health care, it can dictate your life. But that's all politics. You see, the person who actually pays for government doesn't get to dictate to government. Government dictates to the provider. The more you pay into government, the more government wants. The less you pay into government, the more it gives. And as it grows, a category of people that I have called the zero liability voter, Arthur Labrador borrowed that from me. He was on the phone and said, "Can I borrow that?" I said, "You're Arthur Labrador. You can have whatever you want." The zero liability voter is somebody that can vote for a whole host of things that he never pays for, like progressive taxation. And what's mind-boggling about progressive taxation, and this is where I think the Republican Party needs to recapture its conservative roots, because we send Republicans to Washington who just want to make it slightly less crappy. Oh, no, I'll bleed you just a little less. I'll tweak that bill just a little more. I'll get a concession for my district. That's part of the problem. That is absolutely part of the problem. If we elected John McCain, we wouldn't have been taken to the edge to see exactly what it looks like when we fall off the cliff onto the rocks. And now we're there, all staring over like, "Oh, please don't drop me." We need to send people to Washington who understand that a limited government allows for all to prosper, all who wish to participate. and doesn't grow a zero liability class. And here's what happens when some Republicans go to Washington to just do a slightly less crappy job.